there's this guy named Robert Kiyosaki. Anybody who's ever done anything in like real estate or listened to a bunch of business shows before, they've heard of this guy.
Yep.
And he wrote this book called Rich Dad Poor Dad. And in the book, there is this thing called the cash flow quadrant right here. So just to wrap it up really quick, because you can get deep into this, but there's four quadrants here. There's the employee, self-employed, business owner, and investor. On the left-hand side, you see people who are trading their time for money. You have the employee, that's something we're all familiar with, somebody who goes, punches in, they do a job, and they go home. They might have some benefits of knowing they can cut their work off at a certain time of the day. They may have benefits, as in like healthcare benefits. They may be able to get some eyeglasses every 18 months. They may be able to go to the dentist. They may be able to get massages paid for, all kinds of stuff. They may have a retirement, a pension. They might get a company car. When you're an employee, there's certain benefits, but you're trading your time for money. And if you do better work, you're not necessarily compensated for that. But underneath of that, you have somebody who's self-employed. Now, this is somebody who owns a skill. Now, when you own a skill, you might think of a lawyer, a doctor, a dentist. You might think of somebody, maybe it's the massage therapist who the employee is going to see to get their kinks worked out. This person owns a skill, so they can command a higher price. And if they do more work, they make more money. But when they hit that flight and they go on vacation, the money doesn't keep rolling in because they own a skill that has to be executed on. If it's not tax season and you're not doing taxes, I'm sorry, Mr. Accountant or Mrs. Accountant, you are not getting paid because you have to execute things to get paid as somebody who's self-employed. Now, if you transfer over to the right-hand side, this is the people who are making money that is more passive, or money that is disconnected from the time that they spend, right? They invested it to build a system, and that's what a business owner owns. They own a system, something that they set up, and it continues to run even when the business owner steps away from it. They can step away from it for a day, or they can step away from it for a longer period of time. But the work that they do on that business is intermittent. It's now and then, it's here and there. And the business can scale past that one person's energy. So it's important to understand the difference between an employee, someone who's self-employed, and a business owner, because a business owner owns a system. And if you have a side hustle, you're not anywhere on here. You might be somewhat considered self-employed in that, if I go and I do public speaking at a school, you could say I'm self-employed, but that's not my full-time job, right? I become self-employed when I create a system for me to generate leads, for me to close sales, for me to measure my profits and my losses. That's when I actually have a business, and I can consider myself self-employed when I own that skill. If I wanted to turn that knowledge from the speaking that I did at schools into a business, then I would have to create some kind of knowledge products that could be sold or used by other people when I'm not around. And so there's three levels to it, really. In the first stage, you got a side hustle where you're doing things, you may be making money, you may be losing money, but there's transactions happening and you're providing value to some people on an inconsistent basis or just not in a measured way. Then you have somebody who becomes self-employed, and that person owns a skill and they can command a higher price, but it's feast or famine. Eat what you kill. And if you don't kill nothing, then there's nothing to eat. And then you have somebody who builds a business, which is a little bit more stable if you can get it to the point where it's ready to launch and it can take flight. And that's where the real wealth starts to be built there, or where the real money in general just starts to be built.
I had a little bit of a different look on side hustle that you might not have touched on, and broke it down so well that it's actually easy to look at it as employee, self-employed, and then business owner. Because I felt like a side hustle was somebody who has a primary job, so they're most likely employed, or they might even be self-employed, but they're doing something on the side to earn a little extra cash. Like, you know how you have those people that are like, yo, I do Uber on the side and I'm an independent contractor, so that's my side hustle. Or some people, for example, for me, when I was during the pandemic, when I was working my full-time job, I had extra time on my hands. I was making content, and I was making money off of that content. That was my side hustle. There was no, elaborate system. It was just me. If I didn't make a video, I didn't eat. Essentially, like what you were saying with that self-employed side. But I wouldn't really necessarily put it as self-employed. I'd still put it as a side hustle. Whereas when I transitioned into making content for other people, like doing videography, that would be quote unquote self-employed. But again, I feel like I still wouldn't put it at self-employed fully because it was inconsistent. You know, it was something that I was doing like one off here and there when I reached out to people or people reached out to me, but it wasn't my main focus. So, what would you say is there like a measurement or can you put a number on it or make it clear for us what takes you from side hustle to self-employed? So somebody who's employed has a primary job doing something on the side that's making them some extra cash, but now they want to go to self-employed.
You could, I mean, we're kind of splitting hairs here on whether it's driving Uber as a side hustle or if you're self-employed. I mean, it's a little bit of both, depends how you treat it. But the thing to me of where the defining line is a business owner, you're a self-employed when you have the three main systems in a business in place. So you need a financial leg on your stool, you need a marketing leg, and you need a product leg. So these are the three main pillars that every successful business has to have. There's, of course, other aspects of a business, but if you don't have marketing, nobody is going to know that your business exists. If you don't have a strong financial foundation, then you can be making $1 million, but you probably could be also as easily spending 1 million in one. And then at that point, it doesn't matter how much revenue you make because your profit is nothing. Your profit is negative, actually. And so you need to have a strong financial foundation. And then the product, like really, regardless of if it's a service or it's a product, and your product could be take many forms. Like your product was content, right? So there's information products. Regardless of if you have a product that's sold, regardless of if you have a subscription, if you have a service, you have to be able to identify a gap in the market and then fill it with some type of value. And if what you have is not valuable, it doesn't matter how well you market it, or it doesn't matter what the margins are on the sales that you make. Nobody's going to want to buy it. So those are the three legs of a well-supported business: the product, the marketing, and the finances. And then if you want to take it to another level, there's other things to add on top of that, but that's absolutely where it's got to start.
And I want to even just add at the end, this is my kind of final thoughts. Not everybody needs to be a business owner, but learning these skills helps you become more valuable in the business that you work in. There are a lot of problems that businesses need to be solved, and you're going to be able to find those problems if you learn and know and understand how a business is operated, especially a successful business, so you can be more valuable. So whether you're an entrepreneur, you're working within a company and you want to be more valuable, or you're trying to be an entrepreneur, I think all of these lessons that we've talked about today are super valuable. But yo, Courtney, you know, I'm about to pass it to you for that final quotable that we need at the end of the day. Drop. The mic is in your hand. Let's go.
It doesn't matter if you're in a big business or a small business. There can be a business you're a part of that makes a whole lot of money, but still needs these systems to be put in place. And if you can identify those opportunities and implement something meaningful, that might be where you make your mark. And that could be how you make your name in that organization.
That's it. That's a wrap for today, guys. Appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll catch you guys on the next episode. As always, make sure you guys like the video, leave a rating, 5 stars preferably, and also drop a comment down below. Let us know how these episodes are and what you would like to learn on the next conversation. Yeah, that's a wrap for us, Courtney. So you know what? Let's table this and then let's get into the real episode. All right.